Okay, so let me go ahead and break down our pretest for you. Again, we're not in class, so it'd be interesting to see how you guys did and what seemed familiar and what seemed unfamiliar. Hopefully most of it did, and you guys are ready to go. But here's basically a breakdown. Of course, it's very hard to explain every single detail leading up to these review questions, so I'll try as hard as I can to kind of give you an idea of where I'm thinking and how we're going to do this without calculators, how you probably should show your work, things that you can explain, etc., etc., etc. All right, so I think we'll have like maybe 4 or 5 videos where I kind of cut down the pretest for you guys, and hopefully you have more memory jogs. So getting underway, the first problem we have to do is basically true or false. Do I have some situations that are true or not true? And in the first one, again, probably when I'm comparing the fraction 10 over 11 to the fraction 6 over 7, right, the first thing many students want to do is go to their calculator and turn things to decimals. But that doesn't build some skill building that we're going to need in this class. A better way without the calculator is to make these equivalent fractions. Right now, the hard part is the fact that the denominators are different. So the stories are different, but let's go ahead and make them the same. So 77 happens to be the LCD, and so I would have to multiply the top and bottom by that by 7 over 7, and this one by 11 over 11. And so we end up with 70 over 77. Is that less than or to the left of 66 over 77? And of course, now that the denominators are the same, we're basically claiming is 70 less than 66, or does 70 sit to the left of 66? And of course, that's not true. So this first one is false. All right, so 10 over 11 is not less than 6 over 7. And the next one, we're talking about location. Is negative 5 less than negative 11? Again, we say less than, and you probably heard me say over to here, but we're also talking to the left of. So if I take a number line, 0 is somewhere over here, negative 5 would be roughly there, and negative 11 would be there. So when I take a look at this number line, negative 11 actually sits to the left of negative 5. Or you could also say that negative 5 is to the right of negative 11. So that's not a true statement. Of course, we say negative 5 is less than negative 11, but what we're really saying is negative 5 to the left of negative 11. Of course, that's not true. So this is also false. In the next one, we have absolute values. So absolute value is a distance from 0. It's not opposite. It's how far does your number sit from 0. But the first thing I need to do, order of operations, is do the subtraction that's within each set. So this one becomes the absolute value of 7. This one becomes the absolute value of negative 7. 7 is 7 units from 0. And negative 7 is 7 units from 0. They're again on a number line. There's 0. They basically sit the same distance from 0, but from different locations. One on the positive side, one on the negative side. And so that is a true statement. So this is true. Both of those are 7 units away from 0, despite the fact that one's positive and one's negative. But the absolute value brings in the other part of this. The next one, we're trying again to say if we're less than, but we have to be very careful. This is a very common mistake, and when we do turn to calculators, a lot of you are probably going to get potential answers wrong and not even realize it. There's a difference between this guy here, which is the opposite of 4 squared, versus this side here, which is negative 4 squared. And hopefully you see the big difference is the parentheses. So working on this side first, this 2 sits right on top of the parentheses. So whatever's underneath those, whatever's inside the parentheses is your base. And so what we end up having, right, is this is truly negative 4 times negative 4, which gives us 16. So what is less than 16? Well, on the other side, the way we see this, you probably even heard me read it differently. This is the opposite of 4 squared. The 2 sits right on top of the 4. So we're looking at 4 times 4, and then we're basically taking the opposite of that situation, which gives us negative 16. And of course, in terms of location, negative 16 is less than 16, or you can say that negative 16 is to the left of 16. So this is basically going to be a true statement. All right, so there's some work shown, some explanation why A is false, B is false, C and D are both true. All right, in the next stanza, we're asked to evaluate. That essentially means you have to find a value. Of course, if I want to find the value of any one of these expressions, I have to tell you what x and y are equal to. So in this case, x is 3 and y is -2. So to begin our evaluation, all we basically do is substitute the given values. Again, when we do reach for calculators later in our course, it's a good habit to put the number that you're putting in parentheses. That way you can kind of gauge what's happening everywhere around it. So upstairs we have 3 take away a -2. Well, subtraction is the addition of an opposite. So the top literally becomes 3 plus 2. On the bottom we have 6 and we're taking away, well, these two multiplied together give us a -6. So again, we have a subtraction of an opposite. There's the addition of an opposite. So the upstairs is 5 and the downstairs is 6 plus 6. And so let me write the answer over here. So we end up with a final answer of 5/12. So this expression evaluates to 5/12 if x is 3 and y is -2. Of course, if I change the values, right, if I flip-flopped them or whatever the case might be, I'd probably change the value of that expression. But there's for what we have, and for what we get 5/12. The next one, we're just substituting a y value. So we have the absolute value of -2, divided by -2. Again, I'm just in that habit of putting parentheses around what I substitute in. Upstairs, I didn't use parentheses because we're already in absolute value. So how far is -2 from 0? Well, it's 2 units away, and the bottom is -2. So a positive divided by a negative is a negative. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And so that would be our evaluation for that second one. Absolute value of y over y. For this case, it'd be -1. And then last but not least, again, make sure you use parentheses. We're taking whatever x is and we're squaring it. And we're taking whatever y is and we're squaring it. 3 squared is 9. Taking our q from up here, -4 squared is 16. And so what we get is a final answer of 25. And so there's your first round, numbers 1 and 2 from our pretest. For homework, if you need some review of this stuff, I'm pretty sure right now you're going to find it in R2. I think some of these ideas are actually in R1, which I didn't assign, but I didn't assign it because I think this memory jog is good enough. The algebra base really starts in R2. So again, for more review, for some more aha moments, please hit section R2 in our homework on My Math Lab. All right, so we're 8 minutes into this. Why don't I stop this current video, and to do the next stanza, I will actually cut away to a new video. See you guys in the next one.